Hey, what's going on? I'm Chris. I am not related to Joe Mixon, the running back for the Bengals. Although, based on my ranking of him over the past year plus, you might think I am. I once again am encouraging you to draft Joe Mixon in fantasy leagues this year, while admitting he didn't really do a lot to justify it in 2017. I think overall, maybe he finished like number 32 in standard leagues among running backs. I think he produced one top 12 running back week the entire season. You had the drama with Jeremy Hill to begin the year. You had a very poor offensive line. I'm here to convince you there's a lot of good stuff on tape, and I'm going to try to justify having Joe Mixon on the fringes of my top 10 running backs, and therefore justifying him as a second-round draft pick. I recognize that's not necessarily the most popular opinion, but let's see if we can look at a little bit of film and convince you. So let me start you off with a couple of runs that I think should at least make you sit up and take notice. I'm going to look mostly at the second half of the year, sort of after Jeremy Hill is really in the picture at all, and Mixon, insofar as Cincinnati had a starting running back. I guess Joe Mixon was it. This is week 10 against the Titans, and what I like here is he sees number 98 off the edge, a play designed to go to his left and cuts it back in. I like the fact that he sees number 94 of the Titans there and sees that his momentum is taking him away, so I guess towards the hole that Mixon would like to run through, so he cuts again. So I like sort of the double explosiveness there. It's a nice push by the offensive line, but this is sort of a power running play where Mixon is designed, a power running play, you're supposed to cut it back if there's a lane. He sees a lane, he sees it closing, and he cuts back again, and you can see him burst into the secondary and get 13 yards. Good ability when he plants to get going again quickly, as you see on this play.
Your phone does more. Shouldn't your case? Support. Entertain. Trust. Protect. For those who do more, there's only one case. Scooch Wingman.
Now here's a game against the Steelers where once again we have a couple of cuts on this run. I think it illustrates the fact that Mixon does have the stop foot, go foot ability to make cuts. Also that he has good vision. This first cut is kind of a 2-footer, sort of 1-2 left-right. You can see him go 1-2 left-right and then push off. But that second cut, I really like seeing how he gets north out of that second cut. After the first, now he's coming out of it. There's a lane right in front of him. Boom, just with the right foot there, he's north-south with very little momentum wasted. You see a lot of running backs on that second cut give you the 1-2 or the stutter step. We're looking for guys who don't waste momentum. They keep their momentum going forward, and with that boom, that second cut right there, that's what we're looking for. Hard cut, acceleration, go. And then there's some power. Joe Mixon's best quality is power, and welcome to the NFL, Joe Schobert. I don't know if you're already in the NFL. Boom! That is, oh my buddy. I mean, that's impressive. That's a linebacker who's bigger than Mixon. Not as much inertia, it's true. Welcome to the fiery depths of hell, my poor buddy. A comparison you hear me make a lot on the podcast. Joe Mixon reminds me of Le'Veon Bell. I'm going to show you a few plays why that's so. And then I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not just going to show you highlights where he looks good. I'm going to show you highlights where Mixon showed some problems as a rookie, and in that way is not like Le'Veon Bell, but there's enough Le'Veon Jr. behavior from Mixon that I can't help it. I get pretty excited. Let's see if you can recognize some of the similarities. All right, so let's just watch this play from the Broncos and watch Joe Mixon delay. Who does that remind you of? Who does that remind you of? He stops, right? And that's the sort of patented Le'Veon Bell move. The Broncos fill this play perfectly. Von Miller, not just a pass rusher. He stands up his blocker. Number 51 there for the Broncos also does a great job getting in the hole against the pulling guard. Mixon is stuffed. He kind of gets lost a little bit here, but having that patience to wait and to feel his offensive lineman and then bounce out and then forward and there's nothing there, and he gets 5 yards. Very Le'Veon-like. And now from the very same game, just a quarter later, why do I relate Mixon to Le'Veon Bell? Oh, hello there, number 66 Trey Hopkins, the pulling guard. This is my arm, pushing you so I can feel where you're going to go and where I can cut back. If you kind of rewind it, you can see he reaches out. I mean, who else do I see doing that? Gee, I don't know. Could it be Le'Veon Bell? There it was. We did a Le'Veon Bell show already, and of course, that's the move. We call that the Le'Veon. We call that the Jazz Runner. And the fact that Mixon has that in his arsenal reminds me of him. First play from week 17 of last season. Let's hesitate like Le'Veon again, shall we? He waits. He hesitates to see how much the left defensive end, number 90, Zadarius Smith, how much is he going to cheat? How's he going to play it? He sees his blocker clear Smith out, and he accelerates, and he's up and through. I mean, this is not quite completely stopping like Le'Veon Bell, but I think it's Le'Veon-esque. You could see it right there, nearly, on the dead stop, right? Have enough life in your legs. I mean, anybody can stop. I could play NFL running back and stop, but the idea is with 1 step, 2 steps, you're back at full speed. That hesitation starting to become a bit of a trademark for Joe Mixon. And then just to drive the point home, later in the same game, it's not a highlight Mixon wants us to revisit because he fumbles at the end of it, but once again, the patience, Bell-like, there he is again, reaching out and slapping our friend Trey Hopkins on the behind. As a result, is able to stay balanced and kind of feel where the traffic is going, brings the run all the way back the other way, has enough acceleration to make the other guys you see there miss, and then yeah, he fumbles. That part, less Le'Veon-like. Now, I would be lying if I said that all of Mixon's film was amazing as a rookie, and his production absolutely wasn't. And if Mixon doesn't get better from some of the plays I'm about to show you, then I'm ranking him poorly. Okay, we're back to the Titans game again, and the offensive line gives Mixon a very big cutback lane. It's basically one-on-one here. He cuts back to the middle of the field. It's him against a linebacker, Wesley Woodyard, I believe, number 59 there. And Mixon doesn't have a move there, and that is enough space where Le'Veon Bell would make a move there and get by him. I consider this to be not at all an exception to Mixon's rookie film. There's enough of this. I'm going to show you a couple of plays where I want you to be stronger, young man. I want you to be able to get around a guy when you're one-on-one and you have that much space. Let's go back to that Browns game. End of the first quarter. You see the little screen here. Mixon absolutely gets a chance to gather himself, and he's in the open, and he sees Christian Kirksey, the Browns linebacker right there. Once again, a battle that Mixon has to win. You know, if he's got real life in his legs, I think he gets around the tackler there because there's a lot of open field, and he pitter-patties his little foots. And it's true, number 26 for the Browns comes in there and helps with the tackle, but I think you've got to get by Kirksey there, and the pitter-pat, to me, shows a lack of confidence in the leg strength and the drive to make one plant, stop foot, and go. And Kirksey makes a really good open field tackle there, but an elite running back doesn't get stopped. And then finally, same game, maybe here's the happy medium, because I don't think this is a bad play for Mixon, but he doesn't finish it off. As you can see, it's a red zone chance, and the first cut to the outside, terrific. Sees that it's plugged up, has the bounce to be able to bounce it outside. It's almost there. I mean, I think for a guy his size, I love it. Myles Garrett, number 95, gets in his way. He sees that the outside is bottled up as well. A cornerback there on the right side is in position to make a play. So he cuts it up. He's on the dead run, and basically he's got to make, again, one-man miss in that tackling lane there. He doesn't quite have the juice to stop hard enough to plant and go to make. There's Joe Schobert again, and thankfully, he's returned from the depths of hell, and Schobert does not miss this time. I think that kind of juice will arrive for Mixon when he gets slightly stronger with his legs. Do a bunch of squats this winter. I think this is a touchdown because he sees Garrett, he sees the corner, he just can't quite make the linebacker miss, but it's getting there. I admit I'm still in the tank and stubborn for Joe Mixon. I'll also admit the kid has some scandals in his past that may just make it not that fun for you to own him in fantasy. And you know what? I have absolutely no problem with that. I'm here to evaluate what he's doing on the field, and I like it a lot. But but the other stuff is clearly potentially an issue, and who knows why he wasn't able to earn the Bengals' trust last year when he was clearly the best running back on the roster. This year, am I intimidated by the situation? I mean, I don't love Andy Dalton, and I didn't like the offensive line last year, but I think we make a mistake when we decide we know what these teams are before the season ever gets going. You hear me talk about it all the time on the podcast. Teams change in the NFL from year to year. You could have missed out on the Rams last year. You could have missed out on the Eagles last year. Who knows? Maybe the Bengals are that turnaround offense who at least become competent. And if they do, Mixon becomes a big part of that. And even if they don't, I think he's a good enough player that he's very clearly a fantasy starter. And let's see what he looks like in the preseason. For the moment, I'm hoping he did those squats and comes back with just that little extra oomph of leg power to make those cuts and make those linebackers miss. And if it happens, we could be looking at Le'Veon Jr. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll subscribe to this channel. Listen to the podcast. It's at harrisfootball.com. Check out the Fantasy Football Player Profile Almanac as well, and I'll see you next time.